Hey there, this is James Wilson with MTB Strength Training Systems and BikeJames.com. And right now I'm putting the finishing touches on my slides and notes for my presentation I'm doing tomorrow during my free webinar, the top 3 MTB skills training myths. And what I wanted to do is just take a minute to talk to you about one of the main kind of themes that I'm going to be going over in this webinar and why it's so important for you to understand and know how you want to apply it to your training and to your bike. And what that boils down to is knowing the difference between causes and symptoms. And this is something that I've talked on and off about on my blog and stuff when I talk about skills. But it's really important that you understand this, because if you don't understand the difference, you can really screw up and you can end up treating the symptoms and totally missing the cause. Now, to give you a good example of this, go to the world of medicine. And most people can really understand this example pretty readily in this example. But in medicine, they know to address the symptoms, but you need to treat the cause. Now, a couple of good examples of that: a fever, right? If someone has a fever, they're hot. And, if we're just addressing the symptoms, that's the symptom of the fever. And if we're just addressing the symptom, then, we're trying to keep them cool, whatever that, may entail, but we're not addressing the actual cause, which could be an infection, could be that they're sick, and if you're not addressing that cause, if you're just trying to keep someone cool who has a raging infection, they're going to die because you're not addressing what's actually causing the fever. So if you're just focused on the symptom of what's wrong, you can completely miss the cause of it. And in this case, the person could end up dying over something pretty simple. Something else would be like a broken arm. If someone comes into the emergency room and they're in a lot of pain, that's the symptom of a broken arm. They're in a lot of pain. Well, if they just address the pain and they don't address the symptom of the broken arm, the cause, which is the broken arm, then again, you're going to miss it. So just pumping somebody full of pain pills who's got a broken arm so that you take care of the pain without setting the arm and putting a cast on it and getting it set so that it can heal, again, you're missing the point. And people, these are kind of silly examples because they're so obvious. But again, these are just things in different realms. We know to look for these things. We know that symptoms and causes aren't the same. So, your runny nose isn't the problem. We need to address it, but we need to figure out what's causing the runny nose and address it, right? So, so that's one of the big, one of the best examples that I can give to explain this concept is from the world of medicine. Now, moving into another realm, something that's closer to what I do, which is working in strength training. So again, you see this in the gym with people addressing the symptoms of good movement without necessarily addressing the cause. And a really good example of this is squatting. So if you see someone squatting and their knees are caving in, what do you tell them? Well, honestly, an amateur coach, a lower level, like new coach, he's going to tell them, push your knees out, keep your knees out. He's going to focus on the knees. But someone who really knows what's going on, someone who spent some time in the game, is going to know, well, that's not the cause. The cause is either, an unstable foot, something going on in the hip. So I may address the knees. I may tell them, like, hey, man, can you keep your knees pushed apart? And if they can't, then I'm going to start addressing. I'm not just going to keep hammering, keep your knees there, keep your knees there. It's going to be like, all right, now we're going to start focusing on the feet. We're going to start doing some things for the hips. And I want you to focus on those things, and they'll fix the knees. So without necessarily even thinking about the knees, for example, if your knees are caving in, I guarantee you the outside edges of your feet are starting to roll up off of the ground, and that's causing the knees to cave in. So again, if I'm just trying to get you to push the knees out without getting you to focus on getting the outside edges of your feet to press down into the ground, I'm missing the cause of why your feet are caving in. So I can get your knees out, but your feet are still messed up, and we haven't addressed what's really going on. So this is why, again, good coaches will use cues like keep the outside edges of your feet pressed into the ground. You also hear spread the ground with your feet. That's another common one that you'll hear. So, but again, this is going back to don't focus on the symptom, which is the knees caving in. Address that, but we need to figure out the cause, and we need to really treat the cause. And so just as kind of a by the way point here, another movement thing that I'll see, if I see someone doing push-ups and their elbows are in the wrong position, either too far in or too far out. These are the two common compensations you'll see for someone who doesn't have good upper back strength, is they'll let the elbows cave in, or they'll push them all the way out, like almost to 90 degrees, trying to create some leverage there. And so again, you don't cue the elbows. I may address the elbows, try and get them in the right position, but what I'm going to cue is the upper back stabilizer. So I'm going to tell them, tuck your shoulder blades into your back pocket. Keep your shoulders tucked down and back, and while you're doing that. And when they tuck their shoulders down and back, it's going to get their elbows into the right position. So again, it's this idea, causes versus symptoms, causes versus symptoms. So, now I've given you a couple examples. Hopefully you're starting to see like, whoa, there is a little bit more to some of this stuff than maybe I had thought. That knees caving in, elbows caving in may not necessarily be the knees and the elbows. There may be something else going on. So what you want to do is figure out what is going to fix the movement, right? We want to focus on fixing the movement, the actual cause of the bad movement, treat the cause. We don't want to just focus on the symptom and trying to make things quote unquote look better. So again, I may, going back to the squat, I may, do something to get him to push his knees apart, and it may look better from the outside. But again, to the trained eye, they're looking at it and they see unbalanced stuff going on as well. But the thing is, are we focusing on trying to get them to look better, or are we actually trying to get them to move better? And so this goes back to the bike, because all we're learning on the bike is movement skills. That's it, right? So, what's strongest, most stable, most balanced off of the bike is going to be strongest, most stable, most balanced on the bike. The rules of movement don't change just because you're on a bike. So that means that you need to understand some of these movement principles and how they apply to the bike, so that you can understand how to better, address some of the techniques, things that may be going wrong. And so, this isn't a fast fix. This isn't going to happen over the course of a weekend skills camp or something like that. But, this approach is what's going to lead to lasting improvements for you on the trail. And so, again, it's a, pretty profound concept. Like once I really started to understand that difference between causes and symptoms, and make sure that I was focusing, especially in the gym, helping people focus on the causes of moving better instead of just the symptoms, it really started helping people get better results. And again, like this is, I've been helping people move better in the gym and then apply it to their bike for a long time. So even though I may not necessarily have been a, quote unquote skills coach exclusively this whole time, skills coaching is movement coaching, and movement coaching is what I do. And so helping people understand how they move off of the bike and how that applies to their bike is something I've been doing for a while. In fact, it's given me a pretty unique opportunity, because unlike a lot of coaches who may get someone for the course of a weekend or something like that, I've had the opportunity to work with people over the course of years. And so being able to see how improving their movement improves their skills, and how these things tie together, and how I'm not helping someone by not addressing the movement dysfunction that's the actual cause of their bad skill, and simply trying to address the symptom of it by trying to get them to look like they know what they're doing, rather than actually understanding what's going on with it. So anyways, I hope you'll join me for the webinar. The webinar is tomorrow, Tuesday, checking my calendar here, Tuesday the 26th. If you're watching this replay, the replay, after that date, the replay is going to be available, so you can still register for this webinar and get access to the replay as well. And so, but anyways, I hope you'll join me either for the live event tomorrow, or register and get the replay link sent to you and check it out. But again, it's going to be one of the central themes that I'm going to be talking about and helping you explain or understand how this applies to, things like, some of the common skills advice you hear, like light hands and heavy feet, and, elbows out, and lean the bike and not your body. Like all of these things, unfortunately, it's not that they're wrong. What it is they tend to focus on symptoms and not causes. And so, if you understand the causes, then you can actually get a little bit more out of those coaching cues. And so anyways, that's kind of my goal, is to help people understand how to get more out of these common coaching cues by understanding things on a little bit deeper level, and understanding that these coaching cues aren't necessarily exactly what we want to be focusing on. They're a little incomplete in what we're looking for. And so anyways, once again, this has been James Wilson with MTB Strength Training Systems. You can check me out on the web at bikejames.com. And again, you can find the registration link for this webinar there as well. So hopefully you'll join me. And either way, hopefully have a good day, and I'll see you out on the trail sometime.